Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the Minnesota Vikings versus Washington Redskins Week 10 matchup based on analytics. Each week, I collect all of the current 2017 NFL team data in order to analyze and potentially project NFL performance. And since it's a weekly collection, there's always going to be some fluidity each week in terms of various variables, team matchups, injuries, stuff like that. However, there will always be little nuggets of truth that could become bigger nuggets of truth as the season continues. So stick around as I analyze each week's matchups based on analytics. And if you are new to the channel, all terms and definitions will be in the description. So starting with this matchup between the Minnesota Vikings and the Washington Redskins. When you look at the NFL stat basic comparison data, and basic comparison data essentially looks at how the offense is doing, how the defense is doing, and how the special teams is doing. Most of the overall data favors the Minnesota Vikings. There's a couple areas where the Redskins are favored, but let's just kind of get through it. So first off, offensively speaking, the Vikings are pretty much favored in every single statistical category. The Vikings are favored when it comes to turnover ratio. The Vikings are favored when it comes to sack percentage, which is essentially, the less sacks you allow, the better you are in terms of that particular metric. They also do better in terms of offensive score percentage, essentially meaning that they tend to score more often on every offensive drive compared to the Redskins. So from an offensive standpoint, the Vikings are better. And then when you get to the defensive side of the football, the Vikings have a better defense when it comes to defensive offensive score percentage. So basically the ability to prevent points. The Vikings are a little bit better. The Redskins are better when it comes to turnovers. So the Redskins are a little bit better when it comes to getting interceptions, fumbles, stuff like that. Whereas the Vikings are better when it comes to creating sacks, although they are pretty darn close to each other when it comes to sack percentage in terms of their defenses. But I would say that the Vikings are a better defense when it comes to preventing points, whereas the Redskins are a little bit better when it comes to forcing turnovers and that sort of stuff. I mean, that's mostly the differences between these two defenses. Is one team's better at preventing points, the other team is better at getting turnovers. And then when you get to the special teams data, punt return yardage is more so with the Vikings. Kick return yardage is with the Vikings. Defensive punt return yardage is with the Vikings. Defensive kick return yardage is with the Redskins. Field goal percentage is with the Vikings. Extra point percentage is more so with the Redskins. And then punting average is more so with the Redskins. But overall, I would honestly give the special teams advantage to the Vikings. They're pretty heavy when it comes to punt return and kick return yardage, and their field goal percentage is really, really good. Whenever you have a field goal percentage that's that high, you're pretty much ensuring that when you go for three, you get three, and that's always a positive. And it also kind of explains why their offensive score percentage is so much better compared to the Redskins, because I think people don't realize how many points don't get on the board when you don't have a very efficient kicker. So from that perspective, the Vikings are just better on offense, better on defense when it comes to preventing points, which is by far the most important stat, and their special teams is also much better. And that is why the Vikings are so heavily favored in this game, is when you take a look at all those different data points in concert. Now, when you get to other data points, down and distance data. So looking at completion percentage data between the Vikings and the Redskins, not going to get too much into this, but this is fairly even between both these teams. The Redskins defense has an advantage on first down, but the Vikings have an advantage on third down, and then second down is pretty much even between both these teams. So I would say this is a pretty evenly matched Vikings offense versus Redskins defense when it comes to completion percentage. Then, of course, when you look at the Redskins offense versus the Vikings defense, this pretty much favors the Redskins on first and second down. Then, of course, when you get to rushing downs, this is the Vikings offense versus Redskins defense when it comes to rushing downs. And in this respect, the Vikings are favored here on first and third down, so definitely beneficial there. Then, of course, you get to the Redskins offense versus Vikings defense when it comes to rushing downs. and they're favored on first, second, and third down, respectfully speaking. So the Vikings, pretty good advantage. The Redskins' rushing offense has just not been that efficient. There's definitely talented players. I mean, Chris Thompson's definitely a very talented football player, but they just haven't had a ton of success in terms of having an efficient rushing offense. That isn't exactly something that's been working for them. And then, of course, you get to passing downs, Vikings offense versus Redskins defense. In this respect, the Vikings are favored here in terms of second and third down scenarios, respectfully. Then, of course, you get to the Redskins offense versus Vikings defense when it comes to passing yards. And in this way, the Redskins are favored here on first and second down. But third down, I think, is going to be pretty important. That's the main down. If you go back to the completion percentage data and the passing data, there's a big disparity between the Vikings defense and the Redskins offense on third down. So if the Vikings force the Redskins to punt in those scenarios, I think that could be very beneficial for them. Then, of course, when you get to sack rate, Vikings offense versus Redskins defense when it comes to sacks. And the Vikings are favored here, favored on second and third down, and pretty even on first down. The majority of the sacks that the Redskins are able to get come on first down. So that's definitely going to be probably, if there is going to be a sack, it would be on that down. But the Redskins do pretty well at preventing sacks. Then, of course, when you get to the Redskins offense versus Vikings defense in terms of sacks, this pretty much favors the Vikings defense in this respect. First and third down, pretty decent in terms of getting sacks on those downs. And I think that when it comes down to it, I think the Vikings will get a lot of pressure in this game and get a couple sacks. Then you get into interception rate, Vikings offense versus Redskins defense. In this way, the Vikings are favored here when it comes to that particular data point. And then, of course, when you get to the Redskins offense versus Vikings defense when it comes to interception ratio, this more so favors the Redskins on first and second down. But third down is the down where the majority of the interceptions that have been thrown by Kirk Cousins have come on third down. And that's also where the majority of the interceptions have been forced by the Vikings. So that down and distance is key in this game. It's key, very, very key. It's going to be very key down and distance to kind of determine this game. So overall, my general feelings on this game, I think it's a Vikings victory. I think there's enough data supporting the offense, defense, and special teams. I think if you look specifically at the third down passing data for the Vikings have a very good third down passing defense. They get sacks on third down. They get plenty of interceptions. They're able to force teams to punt on third down. And when you're facing a team like the Redskins, who have sort of a shaky defense right now, and on top of that, the other sort of issues, I think ultimately it's just going to be a Vikings victory. So that's kind of how I feel about this. And of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.